I recently got a Pod Express Black for myself. This is not a sponsored video, and I wanted to challenge myself. Can I get this unit, which is catered to the metal guitarist market, can I get it to PNW? Let's find out. Quick signal flow, I have a Gretsch Dual Jet, the least metal of my guitars, which is going into the Pod Express Black, and that is it. I'm not running any other pedals. My end goal is to see if this unit can operate as a standalone worship device. I've got the editor open right here. I am going to check my settings here. Settings for FS3 and 4 are enabled. I got to check that my foot switch assignments are correct. I want to bypass effects. This is going to bypass the distortion and bypass the modulation. Does it do that? Yes, it does. So distortion on, off, modulation on, off. Two very key differences between the red Pod Express, the normal one, versus the black. The first is the amp choices. Obviously, these are meant to be heavy. They're meant for metal sounds. The second main difference of the Pod Express Black is the types of effects that you have available to you on tap. You're able to have two gain stages with the boost and the distortion, whereas on the Pod Express you only had one slot for the overdrive. And instead of having delay and reverb separately, you have a choice of either delay or reverb, which could be a deal breaker, but we'll do some clever tweaking on the delay side so that we can have a full reverb situation going on. Let's face it, by the time you put this through your front of house and into your sanctuary, you are going to have a natural reverb. Just don't expect this to have any shimmers or any of those big cloud reverbs. We are aiming here for a basic PNW sound. Let's start tweaking. First and foremost, the gate is very aggressively set because this is metal inspired, of course. The decay is super short. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change these settings to something less aggressive and make sure that I got some sound coming out of it. Just basically. Okay, you hear a lot of bass, a lot of mid-range, which we can tweak there. I'm going to turn down the channel volume just to make sure I don't clip things, but I do like the master at 10. Yes, let's turn the sag down and let's turn the bias up. So sag down to 4, bias up to 6. Okay, already we have some progress. Gonna turn this down to 3.5. Turn this up to 5 and 5. And I don't want this to be that clean. So I'm gonna turn it up to 3. I can change this to a few things, but let's go to 2x12 and stick this with the orange. Who knows, we could even reach the Michael Guy Cassette early Hillsong United kind of tones. Turn this up to 100 Hertz because I don't need all that low end at all. Already can tell that it cleaned up quite a lot. I'm going to keep this at 100. That's why not. This is at 12,000 Hertz. I don't need all that high end as well. Super high end. I'm going to bring this down to, 9.2 kilohertz. Just ever so slightly a little bit of grit. That's the kind of sound that I like. Next up, let's turn on the digital. And this looks to be the vintage digital because you got stuff like the bit depth and the sample rate. And let's say the rate and depth controls. It's definitely the vintage digital effect. Let's turn this to .8. I'm going to turn the feedback slightly higher. And I'm going to turn this, well, we'll leave the mix as it is. Turn the rate down, but turn the depth up, so you're going to get a bit more of that widening chorus effect. Bit depth, we can keep it that way, 12. That's going to be a bit darker. Sample rate, let's keep it, we'll keep it at 12 and 24K just to have the repeats a bit darker. Let's hear how it sounds like now. Okay, that's quite a high tempo. Let's bring it down. So in the desktop editor, when you see these numbers down here, this lets you know that there's a second page for you to edit and tweak. keep the headroom up high because you don't want to overload and clip the delay pedal. Right now, what we're going to do is bring this scale down to 9.9. And what that is going to slightly offset the speakers from one another because the scale factor is what one speaker will multiply by with the other so that you get a ratio between the two speakers. And 9.9 is barely splitting apart, but it does introduce a little bit of chorusing, which is going to help you get a bigger sound. This sounds good, man. I like the sound. Let's bring on the boost. Now, the compressor is going to be in the boost section, which I guess that's because it's a metal thing. A lot of today's video is going to be making things less aggressive, as you can see. I'm going to turn the ratio down to 4:1. Why not? Threshold, I can turn this up to -33, which is going to be a bit more aggressive. But we don't have to worry about that because I can turn this mix down to, let's start with a 7 first. Attack at 10 milliseconds, that's okay. Release, I'm going to push this up to 400 milliseconds because that is my diamond compressor kind of settings. If I want to make it diamond, I got to make this 20 milliseconds. And right now, this compressor sounds like this. You can hear how it fills out the space a lot more. Yeah, the amp is ever so slightly overdriving because of that, the compressor. Remember, always save your work. You have a nice selection of modulation. Let's go with a chorus. And it's currently off because my foot switch is off. You turn it on. That's a very metal-ish. That's the multi-voice chorus, I believe. Why don't I turn this down, make it less aggressive? Again, make it less aggressive. Let's have a look at a bit higher. Because you don't want too much bass in the low-end signal. That's a nice chorus sound. Last but not least, overdrive. What can we get with this? I believe this is a rat, and I believe this is going to be an OCD, which is not too far off from what we normally use. An OCD is going to be an aggressive overdrive, but we can tweak it down to make it less aggressive. Current settings. Yeah, that's a bit aggressive. Let's turn the tone down to make it not too harsh. Let's actually turn the gain up, and we don't want it to push too hard. And let's see how this sounds like. You can mess with the version. I like the version 2 more than the version 4 OCD anyway. The version 4 is going to be a bit harsher. Yep, I'm going to keep it this way because I like the version 2's EQ. The EQ is a bit more mid-focus. It cuts better than the V4. The version 4, I think, is a bit overcompressed for my liking. I think we've got a pretty decent sound. If I turn off the overdrive, turn off overdrive. I think if you dig in hard enough, you can get the amp to grind up for crunch. Then lighten up your touch for a clean sound. And then you kick on the dry just for leads. I think we've reached a reasonably decent sounding praise and worship sound with the orange amp and having everything kind of toned down. This is the secret to tweaking the Pod Express Black. Everything is really cranked and really aggressive sounding. You need to find a way to tame those settings to make it praise and worship worthy. But alas, because this is a very limited setup, you don't have any shimmer reverbs or choices of stacked overdrives. This is purely for an operational run and gun situation. It might be applicable for, let's say, a worship leader setting where you only handle rhythm stuff, or you can integrate this into a small pedalboard setup where you got an extra drive or an extra reverb just for those options. But enough talk, let's see how this sounds like in the context of a mix. I enjoyed putting this preset together, which will be available for free on my Buy Me a Coffee page. Check out the free pack, download it, use it, let me know how it sounds like in your church context. And that's me. What about you? Have you considered using the Pod Express Black? Are you turned off by it because of how high gain metal it is? I hope I've convinced you that even a product as seemingly geared towards metalheads can be praise and worship worthy. Do check out my previous video where I have explored the Pod Express in detail, covering everything from installation to setup and getting a preset up and running. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in that next video.